Hello everyone, welcome to Jake's Scary Unusual, and we're starting a new series today called Creative Minds. If you guys enjoy this new series, let me know. It's going to be a fictional take on a lot of things. It's going to be unique in every way, and it's going to be driven by me. And if it's a community-based Creative Minds episode, I will let you know in the title. Guys, if you enjoy this new series, please leave a like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate all those things and have a great watch. I'll see you at the end. Bye now. There was a man named Brilious in his mid 30s back in the medieval times. And this guy's loved going for walks like all over the place. And this one day he was going for a long walk through his town, his little medieval town, and he's going up this hill. And he never actually noticed this before, but there's an old castle kind of sitting there they actually used to use for fortification purposes. And he's going up the hill and he's looking off to his right. And he sees there's this old pond outside. It looks like it hasn't been maintained in at least 10 years. Everything's really overgrown and stuff like that. Like, no one's actually taking care of this pond. And he looks back over at the castle and he realizes no one's taking care of that either. It's falling apart. It looks like it's hundreds to thousands of years old. And mind you, this is the medieval times, so you have to wonder to yourself, how is this thousands of years old potentially when, they actually built castles in the medieval times themselves? So there's a lot of questions there. So, he's continually going and he goes actually gets close to the pond and he sees someone across the pond. He's like, oh, who is this? And why have I never seen them before? It's this lady. She's all hunched over, actually looking into the pond like she's about to dive in and grab something out of there. And he's just in shock and awe at this point. He's starting to tremble. He has this sensation come over him. There's this guy in his mid 30s. He's actually a farmer. He's in great shape, of this old little medieval town. And he's looking at this old lady, and he's actually in terror, you know? And she starts looking at him, and he's just petrified at this point, like, dear Lord, what is this? He's praying, he's doing all these things in his mind, and he's starting to think of things he can do to get out of the situation. This old lady she's like this, like making her way around the pond, like going back and forth, and he's getting spooked. And by the time she gets up, he has tons of chills going down his back. He's going absolutely crazy at this point as this old lady gets closer to him. And then by the time she gets up to him, he's like, can I help you? And she's like, what are you doing here? Do you not know what this place is? And he's like, no, I have no idea. And she goes, my name's Vermilla. Vermilla. Nice to meet you, Vermilla. And, he just doesn't even say his own name because he's so spooked out. But she had an idea who he was because she's actually been watching over this town for years now. Just no one really ever noticed it before because it's always been very gloomy and, really out of place, this whole area in general. And then this castle, they actually just recently cut down a bunch of trees for some new houses in this medieval town. So they actually just started noticing this castle more. There's been stories about the castle, but no one really paid attention because they never saw anyone actually outside near the castle grounds or the pond itself. So, there's this vibe, though, that he's getting from her that's just putting everything off in the worst ways possible. And she's like, why don't you come over here? I can help you with some things. And he's thinking to himself, what things can you help me with? And, he actually follows her over to the other side of the pond, and he looks down in the pond, and he sees something glistening in there. And she says to him, if you can get in the pond and get this out for me, I can do some great things for your life. And he's actually in shock and awe. He's like, okay, is this a witch or something? Because I'm pretty sure if that's the case, we have to contact the priest. This is medieval times. This was actually in Europe. And, he didn't know what to do at that point. But he was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. I'm a farmer. I don't have much the way it is right now. This might help my family. I'm just going to take the risk. So he goes in this pond and he realizes it's pretty shallow, and he's wondering why she didn't go in. He should have thought of that before actually taking the plunge in this pond. So he goes in, he grabs this thing, and it grabs him back. And he could see over his hand, another hand actually grabbed his, and he actually pulls as hard as he can. He actually gets it out. It's actually a crystally diamond hand that gripped onto his, and it wouldn't let go. And she pulls out a wand. It's this old wooden wand. It has cracks in it and everything. And she just goes like this, and the hand just detaches and falls, but he catches it. And he gives it to her. He's like, okay, whatever this is, I don't want to touch it again. I want to stay away from this. This is not what I want to be a part of. I don't want to have to deal with something like this. And she says, oh, no, it's fine. That's exactly what I needed you to do. Now I will help you for you helping me. And you think you would want to ask the question, why did you have me get this hand out of the water and not yourself? But he didn't ask it, and that was actually a really bad idea, and you're going to see why later in the video. It's just crazy why he wouldn't actually get the answers he needed before grabbing something he has no clue what it is out of the water. So she takes the hand and she's like, come with me. And they start walking up around the pond on the right side up to the castle. And it's about 10 minutes later till they actually get to the main door. And they start walking in the main door, and he's looking around at the grandioseness of this castle. Right before they get in, he sees some really unique architecture actually at the top of the doorway. And he looks back at the town way down the hill, and he's wondering, how have I never come up here before? It just kept putting him off in so many ways, and really just got him disturbed on so many levels because of the eeriness and the craze of everything like this. And as this lady, she's all hunched over, looking really like raggedy and even ill. And as they open the doors, he's falling behind, and the doors make a really loud squeak. And it was so grand that actually the ground below shook. And when they opened all the way and hit the walls, actually the building itself, the castle itself, shook. It felt like a mild earthquake. They were so big, these doors. I mean, we're talking 10 of this guy, and he was 6 foot, so you can imagine how tall these doors were. Just absolutely crazy. The stones themselves, you'd have to put like 10 to 15 people just to fit on one of the castle stones that were on the ground that you actually walked on. So the doors close behind them. It's actually very gloomy inside this castle. It's not a very comforting feeling of how gloomy and just eerie it was. But as she walks, this is the disturbing part, as she walks into the castle more, the candles actually start lighting up, by themselves without even having to do anything. She doesn't have to light them or anything. And there's this creature being off to the right in this cage. And it looks like, kind of like a prison cell, but it's on wheels. Kind of like a bird cage. And it's like this very hairy, hunched over creature. And he's just spooked at this point. He's like, okay, I don't want to be in here anymore. I need to get out of this place. He's starting to get really horrified, but he realizes that if he tries to make a run for it, who knows what's going to happen to him or what that hand might have done to him. Maybe it was a curse in itself. We actually don't know. So he just kind of like, okay, I don't know what that is. And he just blurts out, what is that thing in the cage? I need to know. And she just looks back and smiles, this horrid grin. And he's like, that's one of my pets. And he just gets these chills down his spine. And, she continues to walk and just laughs, menacingly over time. And he's just like, I'm not even going to try to escape because I know it's not going to go well for me. This castle's fortified. He sees all these different things all around, looks like traps. He just sticks to where she's going. And they go in, and they actually go down the stairs. So when you come in the main castle door, down the hall a little bit, it was a very gloomy hall. Down to the right, there was an old wooden door with rivets in it and stuff like that and metal bars. And she opens it, and it goes down this old stone stairwell. And when they open the door, and she does that grin again, and he just doesn't know what to think of it. And this blast of freezing cold wind comes out of this doorway. You know, and they start making their way down this cellar, basement. Who knows what it was? Just maybe the castle basement. It was crazily huge because when they got to the bottom, he looked. It was just magnificent. It was massive down there. But the creepy thing is, there was different chambers and stuff like that. Very unique looking things too, contraptions and figures and old iron and steel and all that type of like suits, armor suits and weapons. And there was this one area I remember he said he looked down and there's these two axes hanging from the ceiling. And as these axes hung down, they also moved like this. So it's like if you went down that specific way, there's a chance you're going to get sliced pretty bad. So there's just all these different things going on down there. He didn't really know what to think of it. But she takes him down this middle hallway. In the base end, there's a chemistry station. And, you know, there's all this alchemy stuff going on. Boiling green water, even blue boiling water. You know, really weird stuff going on. She takes that crystal hand and actually puts it in one of those glass pots. For some reason, they had those, and he didn't really even know what it was at the time. What is this? Like, he was just looking at it. It was very strange. And she puts it in there, and it starts getting very shiny. It's as if it's heating up more and causing this extreme amount of light. And it just explodes in the water, in this bluish green water, because there's all these different colors, right? You know, of all these different types of chemicals and things this witch had brewing. Who even knows what they were? Were they potions or what were they? I don't actually know. And it just exploded in the pot, and it was actually pretty crazy to see. And he said, like, it's blinded him. This really blinded him, and it did a number on his eyes. He couldn't see for seconds. But after that, the witch actually got really young, because she actually just immediately after that exploded there, she drank that pot of that bluish green liquid with all the shards of the crystally diamond substrate in there. It just was wild. And she turns young. And she looks back at him and says, my job here is complete. Now I will give you your wish. And he's just like, what do you mean, what wish? I didn't wish for anything. And she says, put out your hand. He puts out his hand. She touches his hand. And he actually appears outside of that castle. When she did that, and he's in a completely different uniform. He's dressed up. And he looks at the castle and the pond. The pond is all dried up. The castle is completely in ruins. And he looks around, and he has a horse and carriage. And it actually teleported him to the 1800s. And he's a wealthy businessman in Europe. And he just doesn't know what to think of himself. He has no idea where he is, and there's a lady on the carriage with him, and she says, come on, darling, we have to go. Why are you taking so long looking at this castle? And he's just in shock and awe at what just happened to him. He's like, what just happened? How did this happen? And where's my farming gear? Where's everything I left here when I was coming up to this castle in the beginning? He's in absolute shock and awe. He doesn't know what to think. He just looked down and it was like, this is amazing. But it's also terrifying. But he realizes, and he has a sense of immense money and wealth. He just can't put his mind on it. He can't put his finger on what he's feeling. And he gets on the cart and goes on his merry way. It was a really nice cart, you know, it was completely enclosed and all that. You know, he had a beautiful wife, you know, had all the nice get up on and all that. And he was in a nice suit and everything. And they went back to the city, and he's looking around like, what is all this? This is absolutely insane. So he actually ends up being a banker. You know, that whole time, this witch gave him a wish he couldn't ask for not. But guys, if you enjoyed this unique Creative Minds episode, this is episode 1 of many to come. This is a new series I will be doing weekly to every other week on YouTube. And there also will be community-driven Creative Minds episodes as well, by the community, you, and others as well. Again, if you enjoyed, please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate all your support, and have a great night, great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.